As you guys may know, I love looking into the stories of converts, and today we have another one. Allow me to introduce to you White Muslim Guy.
So I'm white, I'm 38, and I'm American.
He's white, in case you had absolutely no idea. What happens when you're a fresh convert to Islam, you have a wife and son, and you're feeling bored? You're going to start looking for a second wife.
And at one point I was so desperate, I guess, that I was paying $2,000 per match. Meaning I would go out, I would meet a woman, and just for the meeting was $2,000. Can you believe that? $2,000.
I can't make this up, guys. What we're going to see today is just how hard it can be to find a second wife. All of what he goes through would apply to finding a first wife too, and how women are sometimes treated like goods to be traded for financial gain. Today, we are going to dive deep into the world of Dan, aka the White Muslim Guy, and his bizarre tale of searching for a second wife. He wasted no time at all after converting, searching for that halal second side piece in Pakistan. Did he end up marrying this mysterious Pakistani girl, or did something else happen? We're going to find out. Let's get into it. Before we start playing his video, I want to point out the sad part of the story here. This Muslim woman is treated like an object to be traded. She doesn't appear to be interested at all, but she goes along with it. Is this what marriage is supposed to be about?
A year and a half ago, I was engaged and heading into an arranged Islamic marriage in Pakistan, but I walked away. In this video, I will share why I agreed to it in the first place, how I got out, what happened with the family, and do I regret it? Or was it the best decision I ever made? So I'm white, I'm 38, and I'm American. And I moved to Dubai about a year and a half ago. And I had decided that I wanted to marry a second wife. And my first wife was okay with it. And so the search began. Now, for context, I am a very busy businessman. I own multiple companies. I do very high amounts of revenue, which means that I have employees, I have accounting to deal with, I have just a lot of stuff going on. And mashallah, I've been very successful. I have a beautiful home here in Dubai Marina. Everything is great, but I'm very busy. Finding the time to find a wife and get married is extremely challenging. And if you are a successful, professional, executive Muslim man, you understand the struggle.
Okay, guys. The first thing you are going to learn about this guy is that he loves to brag about himself. We are going to start a brag counter to see how many times he brags about himself in the next 18 minutes. He's a successful, high-value man. Don't forget that. I mean, you probably won't be able to forget that because he plugs how amazing he is every single chance he gets.
And so at first I tried the Islamic marriage apps. Everything from Muslima to Muzmatch to Salams, all of that. And I spent weeks upon weeks upon weeks getting nowhere until one day I asked some friends, I said, hey, do you know any sisters looking to get married?
Those apps are absolutely terrible, my dude. That's your first mistake. Don't go on these apps. And I have heard from guys that these apps are filled with women who use filters to hide what they really look like. Drop a story in the comments if you used one of these marriage apps and what your experience was. I'd love to hear from you. So he says he got nowhere on these apps. That sounds about right, my dude. Let's see what other second wife finding endeavors he goes on next. Get ready. This story is about to get really strange, and sometimes I seriously wonder if he's telling the entire truth about this because of how all of this went down.
And one of my friends who was from Pakistan said, hey, I've got a cousin who is looking to get married. She's 22 years old, and she's never been married, this and that. He says I should consider it. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I knew nothing about Pakistan. Literally, I thought Pakistan was in the Middle East, and I thought Pakistanis were Arab. That's how little I knew. Again, white American. We are known for not knowing these things. And so I had no concept of Pakistan, Pakistani culture, nothing.
Oh no, he has a big finger quotes friend that has a cousin in Pakistan. Also, dude, come on. Don't lie to us. You're not that white. You absolutely know where Pakistan is, and you know that Pakistani people are not Arabs. He's definitely lying here, especially being someone who owns a business and lives in Dubai. I am sure that if you were able to hop on a plane and figure out where Dubai was, you definitely saw Pakistan on a world map at one point. My dude, I am also white, and I do not have nearly the amount of wealth and economic mobility compared to you, but I have been around the world quite literally. I know where Pakistan is on a map, so don't play us like that. Not all white people are like this, so don't play into that stereotype. Also, guys, I know white people are stigmatized to like bland food, and that is true sometimes, but I can also promise you, many of us are not like that either. Ask my husband. I cook all kinds of Indian food, Middle Eastern, you name it. I just felt like I need to say my piece here. I am white, but do not listen to this guy. He doesn't represent all of us being ignorant about what a map looks like.
So this culture where the marriage is extremely or primarily driven by the family and how the family makes decisions, and most of the marriages are arranged, this was something that was very foreign to me that I just did not understand. And so they set up a Zoom meeting, and I get on Zoom and I talk to her a little bit, but it was very odd because it seemed like there was someone around her coaching her on what to say. And her English was not great, but it was good enough. But it was a very, very awkward experience because it really did seem like someone was looking at her and watching her the whole time. So I thought, well, I should meet her. I should meet her in the family. I was going to Pakistan anyway for a business conference that I was speaking at. And so I thought, well, I'll go and I'll meet the sister. And the plan was actually for me to meet 3 or 4 sisters that my buddy knew there. But for some reason, when I got there, the other sisters seemed to suddenly disappear and they couldn't make it, whatever. And it was only this woman that I was marrying, which was a little bit suspicious, but I try to have an open mind, so I kept going with it. So we go to a hotel room, her family's there, she's there, I meet her, and I have a very long conversation with her, probably at least 3 or 4 hours. And the family seemed a little bit kind of, I don't know if they were disturbed by this or they didn't understand it, but I was asking a lot of questions, and it seemed to me like they didn't understand why I was asking so many questions, which was kind of odd because from my culture, when we get married, we generally date for like 6 months to a year, then we live together for 3 or 4 years, then we decide to get married. It's a very try before you buy type of situation.
Yes, these cultures can be very collectivist, Dan. The whole matters more than the part. He says they set up a Zoom meeting. I've heard that Zoom is a pretty popular way to talk to a potential spouse and even get married. So she seems like she's being coached and her English wasn't great, but good enough. Sir, when you are trying to find someone to marry, good enough English is probably not a good way to go for a life partner. We need to be able to communicate with those we love on a deep level, and language is important. But I guess when you're searching for a halal side piece, these things don't really matter. We know why these men want a second wife, and it's not because they want a deep connection. So he's conveniently going to Pakistan for a business conference to meet her, but yet he claims he had no idea where Pakistan was on a map, or that Pakistanis were not Arabs. That part of his story bothers me a lot, to be honest, because he's clearly downplaying his intelligence to play up the whole ignorant white man thing. I am shocked. Not shocked that he was supposed to meet 3 or 4 other women there, but that they magically disappeared. Those girls were smart. Why would you want to be wife number 2, especially when you're in your 20s? No woman should ever want to be second best, but when you've never been married before, I mean, that's truly a downgrade. So he lands in Pakistan, meets with this girl and her entire family in a hotel, and they talk for 3 or 4 hours. He says that they were acting disturbed by the fact that he was asking a lot of questions. There's a lot of red flags here, guys. The first is this so-called friend that introduced you to this girl. He's not being totally honest with you about what this girl wanted or how engagement works in these cultures. Another red flag is that there were 3 or 4 women who bailed on you, which left you with only this option in Pakistan. The third red flag is now you being in a hotel room of all places with her family for 3 or 4 hours. Why didn't they invite you to their house? I am not too familiar with rishas, guys, so tell me how this situation is actually supposed to go, because I do not think Dan is getting the proper arranged marriage experience here.
Now, of course, this is American culture, and this was before I was Muslim, but this is still what I'm used to culturally. And as a revert, I was like, okay, I gotta psych myself up for the whole, you don't get to do anything with or hang out with your wife at all. You just kind of got to roll the dice and make the decision, and hopefully it works out, which is absolutely wild to me. And I understand Islamically that's what you're supposed to do, and alhamdulillah, I will follow it. But it's still incredibly difficult and awkward and uncomfortable. And so I wanted to ask a lot of questions. And here's where it got a little bit weird. I say to her, hey, and by the way, I'm going to keep things very vague because I highly doubt her or her family will watch my channel ever. But just because I don't want to be inappropriate, I'm not going to share too much details just to be not that guy. But you get the point. So at one point I say, hey, let's say we get married. What's the first thing you want to do when you get to Dubai? And she says, whatever Allah wills. And mashallah, that's amazing. But I was like, okay, great. But what are you interested in? And what I found was most of the responses and the whole vibe of the situation was very it was hard to get a real answer out of anybody there, right? Her, my friend, the family, it was weird.
She says she wants to do whatever Allah wills when she gets to Dubai. Well, dude, you did mention her English was good enough, so it could either mean that, or this is just another way of saying she doesn't give a shit about you because she wants your money. He says, mashallah, that's amazing. I mean, come on, dude. That is a shitty answer, and you know it. If you flew to Pakistan, met with this girl and her entire family, and you can't get an answer out of anyone, you know what you need to do? You need to get up and leave. That's it. Wrap up the conversation, tell them you'll meet up later, and then block and ghost them on everything as soon as they're gone. This whole thing is highly questionable at best, and you need to run for the hills, Mr. Dan. Your so-called friend is here too, and he has nothing to say. Shouldn't you be telling us you guys are no longer friends? I really hope this guy still isn't your friend, Dan, because he's not being entirely honest about what's going on here. This whole thing is honestly sad and pathetic.
At least for me. At one point I said, is this something you really want? Are you even interested in me? And she said, it's up to my mother. It's up to my mother. It's up to my mother. Because I guess the father wasn't in the picture. It's up to my mother. And I'm thinking to myself, this is starting to seem like an arranged marriage. I thought this was just my friend hooking me up. But now it seems like an arranged marriage. And as this progressed, it started to feel like a forced marriage. Like she had zero say, which I felt very uncomfortable with. So I started doing a little research into the Hadith, Quran. And what I found was that you cannot force a woman into marriage. And furthermore, forced marriages are, at least from what I read, haram. They're not permissible. And furthermore, from what I understand, if a woman wants to get married to a man and her family says no, if there is not a legitimate reason to say no, she can go to a sheikh, she can appeal this, and she can actually get married. Now, I get it. If the guy's a crackhead, if he's, Jesse from Breaking Bad and he's trying to sell you the blue rock, well, okay, that's a legitimate reason not to get married. But if that's not the case and he's just a normal dude and there's nothing wrong, women should be able to get married to him. But this was not what it seemed like Pakistani culture was, or maybe not even Pakistani culture, maybe just this subsect of it. I'm still not really sure.
Okay, well, he feels uncomfortable with it, so he's finally starting to see the signs. He wants an enthusiastic 22-year-old, not one that was forced into this. This guy is 38, by the way, so almost 40 years old with a wife and child, and he's looking for wife number 2. In this case, let's give him credit because it does appear he got consent from wife number 1. Consent is like a very flaky topic in Islam. There is a hadith where consent is understood to be silence for a virgin girl. In Sahih al-Bukhari, narrated by Aisha, I asked the Prophet, "O Allah's messenger, should the women be asked for their consent to their marriage?" He said, "Yes." I said, "A virgin, if asked, feels shy and keeps quiet." He said, "Her silence means her consent." I mean, if I want to be critical here, consent should never be based on silence. Any sort of consent for marriage or sex should be explicit and enthusiastic, not a matter of the woman saying nothing. What if she was forced into this behind the scenes and she was threatened to stay silent? Guys, when is consent ever a matter of silence when it comes to sex? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Dan, you didn't exactly do your due diligence researching enough on this topic. In the Hanbali Madhab, one of the most famous scholars says that a father has a right to marry off his virgin daughter without her permission. Also, she has no right to object, and the marriage is binding. In this fiqh book, we can read the following. With regards to females, the father may give his minor, virgin daughter who has not reached the age of 9 in marriage, and there is no difference of opinion concerning that. If he gives her in marriage to someone who is compatible, Ibn al-Muntir said, all of those scholars from whom we acquired knowledge unanimously agree that it is permissible for a father to give his minor daughter in marriage if he arranges her to someone who is compatible, and it is permissible for him to do that even if she is reluctant. We can also find sources for lack of consent in hadith like this, narrated by Aisha, that the Prophet said to her, "You have been shown to me twice in my dream. I saw you pictured on a piece of silk, and someone said to me, 'This is your wife.' When I uncovered the picture, I saw that it was yours. I said, 'If this is from Allah, it will be done.'" There you have it, guys. If the Prophet wants a 6-year-old wife, he's going to get his 6-year-old wife. Aisha had no knowledge of this marriage happening either, which further supports the Hanbali opinion that consent from a girl is not required. Look at this hadith about Aisha trying to be a kid, when her mother comes to fetch her to marry Muhammad. It was narrated that Aisha said, "The messenger of Allah married me when I was 6 years old. Then we came to Al-Madinah and settled. I became ill and my hair fell out. Then it grew back and became abundant. My mother, Ruman, came to me while I was with some of my friends and called for me. I went to her and I did not know what she wanted. She took me by the hand and made me stand at the door of the house, and I was panting. When I got my breath back, she took some water and wiped my face and head and led me into the house. There were some women of the Ansar inside my house, and they said, 'With blessings and good fortune from Allah, my mother handed me over to them and they tidied me up. And suddenly, I saw the messenger of Allah in the morning. She handed me over to him, and I was at that time 9 years old.'" I was doing some more digging into this whole concept of a child being married without consent, and I stumbled upon some even more disturbing stuff, guys. A minor can not only be married without her consent, some sources say it's even okay to have intercourse with a minor as long as she can withstand it. That is honestly so disgusting and heartbreaking to even say these words. I feel so grossed out reading this to you guys, but I wanted you to see the dark twists and turns a lot of this stuff can take. One commenter on Islam Stack Exchange provided a source to justify having intercourse with minors based on different madhabs. It depends on whether her body is physically mature enough to have intercourse without physical harm. So this person translated from a fiqh book, the madhab of jurists is that being a minor is also an impediment to handing over a wife to her husband. A minor who is not capable of withstanding intercourse will not be handed over to the husband until she becomes an elder and this impediment is removed. That is because sexual desire will tempt the husband to have intercourse with her and the wife will be harmed by it. The Malikis and Shafis say, when a minor is able to withstand intercourse, this impediment is removed. The Shafis say that if the husband says, "Hand her over to me and I will not have intercourse until she is able," even then she will not be handed over to him, even if he is trustworthy. That is because there is no reasonable security from his lust. The Hanbali say when a minor is 9 years old, she will be handed over to her husband. After 9 years, they, the parents, will not have the right to detain her even if she has a skinny body. Imam Ahmed has stated this because of the hadith. The Prophet consummated his marriage with Aisha when she was 9 years old. However, Qadi has stated, "I do not think that this is a maximum limit. Rather, Imam Ahmed has mentioned that usually the age of 9 of a female becomes able to have intimacy. If a 9-year-old is handed over to the husband and she fears that she will be harmed because of the husband being bigger, then she will have the right to stop the husband from having intercourse, and he will only have intimacy with her in the same way that he has intimacy with the menstruating woman in her period, i.e. with a waist wrap, and he will not have penetrative sex, but receive pleasure by other means of intimacy." In the next part of this fiqh book, they talk about the Hanafi ruling. However, the following is the relevant ruling from the Hanafi text. and there is disagreement on the time of consummation of marriage with a minor. Hence, some said that he should not enter into her until she reaches puberty, and some said that he may enter into her when she reaches 9 years of age. And most of the sheikhs are of the opinion that age does not matter, rather her ability matters. If she is physically mature and can withstand intercourse with men and does not fear affliction with illness because of it, then the husband has the right to consummate the marriage with her, even if she has not yet reached 9 years of age. And if she is skinny and weak and cannot withstand intercourse and fears illness because of it, then it is not permissible for the husband to consummate the marriage with her, even if she is older in numeric age. And this is correct. The unfortunate thing about this, guys, is that the Muslim answering this question is not just stating his opinion. He's actually providing sources from every school of thought that will also stand behind this as well. Let me share with you guys another question from this website. I heard that Surah Talaq Ayat 65:4 proves that it is halal to have sexual intercourse with prepubescent wives. I wonder if this is true. I searched it, but every website says a different thing. One says yes, it is permissible to have sex with a prepubescent girl. Another says yes, it is permissible, but she has to be ready. I can't understand how can a prepubescent be ready for it either. Another one says those who haven't menstruated yet means big girls, like 16 years old, who haven't menstruated due to medical reasons. If you are enjoying this video, we'd like you to subscribe. Already subscribed and want to help to get more views, click the thumbs up. And if you want to help me do even more, please join our community on Patreon. The link to Patreon will be in the description below. All right, thanks in advance and back to the video. Which one is true? Is it permissible to have sex with, for example, like 3 or 4-year-olds or even a baby, as long as she's your wife? And one more thing, if it is not permissible, which I hope so, to have intercourse with these little children, is it permissible to use their organs or kiss them, etc.? Lastly, can this girl ask for divorce in a situation like that when she becomes mature, even if her husband doesn't allow it? Thank you so much. So, it looks like the person asking this question is hoping that these things are not permissible. Maybe I'm hoping that they're a questioning or doubting Muslim. However, the answer to their question is not going to be the one they hope for, which makes it impermissible. In fact, Islam allows this, guys. Marriage, the contract, is permissible with a minor, according to the majority view. Although many of the scholars have noted such a marriage to be discouraged under normal circumstances. Being a minor is, however, a legal obstacle to the consummation of a marriage, i.e. handing over the bride to her husband and allowing him to have intercourse because a minor will be harmed by it. There are different madhabs on the threshold after which it is removed. For example, there is a difference on the time of consummation with the minor. Some have said it cannot be consummated until she reaches maturity, and some have said it can be consummated when she reaches 9 years of age, and some have stated when she has reached physical maturity to have intercourse, the marriage can be consummated. The verse 65:4 is compatible with all views, because it is possible for a woman to be considered an adult while she has not menstruated. That can be, for example, if she has passed some other criterion of puberty, or if she is of an advanced age where adulthood is pronounced in the absence of signs of puberty. As you can see, Islam is just plain nasty. It allows the worst things. If you are a Muslim, you should be having some major doubt right now about how your religion doesn't just not protect minors, it enables pedophilia, institutionalizes and legalizes it. Just awful.
But it didn't sit right with me. And at one point I even asked, I said, hey, if you don't like me, totally cool. Wink at me, and I'll be like, and I'll go to your mother, and I'll just say I don't like you, and I don't want you, okay? It's okay. You can wink at me. But she maintained it is up to my mother, it is up to my family, you know? And I said, okay, well, let's chat for a while. We'll get engaged. Let's chat for a while, and let's see how it goes. Now, I sent the family money. I sent them gold. I sent a ring. I sent them food. Like, I don't know. I just did what my friend told me to. I don't even know if I was supposed to or not, but I did it. And so over time, several months, I spoke. And, you know, again, it's all halal. You know, we weren't talking dirty or anything, but I was trying to get to know her. And I just, you know, when you have a conversation in the West, you can get to know somebody. incredibly well in an hour. This was 3 months of talking, and I barely knew anything about the girl. And over time, I was starting to see the cultural differences, and I was starting to see things that me as an American, I would find incredibly distasteful and disrespectful in my culture that would come from her side. And vice versa, I'm sure she would find things that was incredibly disrespectful and distasteful coming from my side. And so there was cultural differences that were just, absolutely incredible. Just a lot of them.
She needs to wink. What? Dude, you're almost 40 years old trying to scoop up a 22-year-old from Pakistan. You need to end this. You are way more experienced and old enough to see the Chinese parade of red flags here. So you need to walk away and call it a day on this situation, Dan. This situation gets worse and worse. He sees the signs of something being off here. Even this so-called friend of his is acting strange and not answering his questions. So what does he do? He decides it's in his best interest and the interest of this young girl to not only continue talking, but to get engaged. This is all kinds of awful. Why are you sending these people gold? You just went to Pakistan and met them in a hotel room of all places. The girl's response about what she wants to do in Dubai is whatever Allah wills or some bullshit like that. And you proceed to send them expensive gold? Why, Dan? They're just going to resell all of this and make money from it after this all falls apart. Dan, are you trying to flex your wealth to us by telling this part of the story? Because this ain't it, my dude. This actually makes you look like a fool. I think what you want to do, Dan, is you want to appear rich and as if you're the one helping this family and doing them a favor. You just did what your friend told you to do, but come on. So we have a Chinese parade of red flags, shady hotel meetings, a shady so-called friend, shady everything, shade galore, cultural differences he might not be able to look past, and he still proceeds to talk to this girl for 3 months. Got it.
And I started talking to my friends, and they were like, look, man, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. You guys are way too different. It's not going to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at one point, there was an issue. And again, I'm going to remain a bit vague here. But basically, something happened with the marriage process that in my culture would be considered unforgivable. It would be considered just something that we would never tolerate. Let's leave it at that. But in their culture, it was completely acceptable and completely normal. And it just kind of like escalated, and I was just like, okay, this is not going to work. I'm going to save you. And I told her, and I was very direct. I said, I'm going to save you decades of pain and suffering. It's not going to work out. I can tell it's not going to work out. You're going to be sad. God forbid we get, divorced. Now, I'm saving you. So I ended the engagement. Of course, she wasn't happy. Of course, her family wasn't happy. I have learned as now a 38-year-old man who's been through a heck of a lot in life, that sometimes when you do something or you disappoint someone, they can be incredibly angry at you. They can be incredibly disappointed with you. But the amount of disappointment and sadness you are saving them as a result of this is so immense that you just have to do it. And you have to get over it, because if you try not to disappoint them this much, you'll end up disappointing them this much, and you have to have the stones to disappoint people a little bit to prevent something worse. Now, at this point, I still wanted to get married, obviously. And by the way, just so you guys know, I let her and her family keep all the money, all the gold, all that, because, I felt like I kind of wasted their time a little bit. Here, take it, right?
I like how he says he's going to save her decades of pain and suffering. Again, he's bragging about himself as if he's the great one here and he's doing her a favor. Dude, she was never interested to begin with. I'm sure they're enjoying the money they got from reselling the gold you bought her for no good reason at all. This whole thing is trying to make it look like he's the good guy, but a more honest portrayal would have been to say, I'm going to save myself decades of pain and suffering, or save us. How is he acting like he's her savior? Buying gold should happen after you marry, not when you just land in Pakistan and talk to this girl in a hotel room. I love how he says that he felt like he wasted their time when he's the one who spent time and resources on this. Again, Not sure if he actually believes that he wasted their time, not the other way around, but we can all see who was the one playing tricks and scamming. The family probably wasn't happy because they saw you as a bank, a future ATM, and possibly a way to immigrate to the US eventually. Oh gosh, this entire trip is proving to be a huge waste of time and money.
And so I went back to the marriage apps. Now, I was trying to do that, but at the same time, I was also reaching out to professional matchmakers. And at one point, I was so desperate, I guess, that I was paying $2,000 per match. Meaning, I would go out, I would meet a woman, and just for the meeting was $2,000. Can you believe that? $2,000. And at one point, I had two situations where I met one woman, and I got charged the $2,000, sat with her, and she says, well, I'm not okay being a second wife. And I'm like, well, then I'm thinking to myself, well, then why did we meet? Why did we? Okay, great, that's fine. That's your choice. But why did we even meet? And so that was a bad situation, right? Then the next one, I specifically tell my matchmaker, I say, I want a Muslim woman, practicing Muslim woman. Well, she sends me another sister who was not covered, and okay, I'm a modern guy. Modest is fine. I don't necessarily need hijab. I'm not going to be so picky, and one day, inshallah, she will wear it. Okay, fine. Open-minded.
So he went back to the drawing board, the marriage apps and a matchmaker. Let's see how that works out for him. Also, side note, is anyone else weirded out by how he openly brags about being desperate? You'd swear this was a guy that was a virgin, never had sex in his life, not someone who's almost 40, with a wife and child already. To be honest, this just makes this entire situation that much more sad to me. He's saying he's desperate. These are Islamic family values, guys. You get married to satisfy your desires, but one woman isn't enough to make you happy, so you start outsourcing for halal sexual variety. He's trying to brag about himself again. Oh, look at me. I have so much money. I just paid $2,000 to meet a woman. Has anyone heard of this? Because I haven't. Are there scammy Islamic matchmakers that charge you $2,000 just to meet someone? It sounds like a great way to set someone like him up with the wrong person over and over again just to bleed him out for cash. Personally, I doubt this is how it works, but anything to brag about how rich and desperate he is. That's what ended up happening with the first girl he paid $2,000 to meet. She said she didn't want to be a second wife. Now, if I'm a Muslim matchmaker and my client wants a second wife, don't you think you'd ask the potential if that's what she truly wanted before charging the guy $2,000 to meet someone he's not compatible with? Truly dysfunctional and scammy vibes. Or he's just lying about this. I don't know. Which is more likely at this point? I also like how he says for the second woman that he's a modern guy who is okay without hijab. By saying you're a modern guy, isn't that kind of talking down about what Islam believes in and stands for? I suppose on the flip side, this is a good mentality to have in general, especially if he ever has a daughter one day.
But I find her social media profile. The woman had, and astaghfirullah, I don't want to say anything bad. I'm not mentioning her name or anything, and I'm not saying she's not Muslim, but she had an Instagram with lingerie photos all over the Instagram. Now, look, I'm not one to say someone is or is not Muslim, but for me, I don't care if I was an atheist with a Scientologist cousin. I ain't marrying nor dating any woman that has lingerie photos on the internet. That's gonna be a no from me. So bad experience with the meeting of the families and all this, flying out and cultural differences. Bad experience with the expensive matchmakers. Back to the marriage apps.
Guys, I am not the best with my Arabic pronunciation at all whatsoever, and I don't care if you make fun of me for it, but I crack up every single time he tries to say astaghfirullah. He says astaghfirullah or astaghfirullah. I just want to point that out. Like, this guy has been Muslim for 3 years, lives in Dubai, and he still has not learned astaghfirullah. He wants a woman that is modest, but not necessarily a hijabi. Okay, fair enough. I don't think that my husband would appreciate me putting photos like that out there either. I get it. However, let's again go back to this matchmaker he's hired. He's negative $4,000 at this point for simply meeting 2 women. Shouldn't this be something that the matchmaker would look into? I just get scam vibes because this is getting very expensive for completely avoidable reasons. Also, I wonder how much his trip to Pakistan, hotels, food, transportation, buying gold for a girl he doesn't even know put him in the hole financially. He's wasted so much money desperately searching for wife number 2, and he's gotten nowhere so far. So he's going back to the marriage apps, which are in comparison still sucky, but very affordable. Let's see where his story heads next.
So this time, I took a little bit different approach. Now, again, I am a very successful businessman, mashallah, and I remembered that one of the things that made my companies very successful was we would hire people who would stick around for a long time. And we did that by having potential employees take a clinical personality test. And we would compare their personality results with my and my senior management personality results to make sure that we would get along psychologically, that we were psychologically compatible. And I thought, well, why wouldn't that work for a wife? So I got on the marriage apps. I matched with as many sisters as I could. And out of the hundreds of sisters that I matched with, which did take a long time, ended up getting a response back from, dozens and dozens. And of those dozens and dozens, then some of them I disqualified because, maybe they weren't as modest as I would like, or maybe they did not want to move, or whatever logistical reason. And then out of the ones that I'm like, okay, these are potentials, I had each one take this same clinical psychology personality test. Of course, I took it myself. I know my results, and I compared them. And most of the sisters didn't fit or kind of fit, but one sister fit almost perfectly. And I thought, wow, this is a real potential. So I talked to her for a bit, and I said, you know what, we should meet. And so she flew to Dubai. We met in a public place, kept it halal, all that stuff. It went pretty well. I asked her a ton of questions. I tried to figure out her goals for the future, this and that. And then we went our separate ways. And we talked for a little bit after that. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I think this is the one. And so we decided that we wanted to get married. So I flew to her home country. I got her parents' permission, which was very difficult as a white American. More difficult than I imagined. There is no white privilege in the Middle East.
Here comes the bragging. I am so successful. I helped this Pakistani family by giving them gold they would most likely resell. Actually, taking a personality test, in his defense, can be really helpful. I have taken many in the past, and my results are always an INFJ advocate. My husband Abdullah has similar results as well. He's another form of an INFJ, and that's one of the first things we talked about when we met, how similar our personality tests were. Is that a contributing factor for why our relationship is happy? It's very possible because our personalities tend to view the world in a similar way. I wouldn't say that's a bulletproof way of determining if someone is right for you, but it's a good way to gauge their potential personality for sure. Also, this whole plug again about being white and white privilege, this and that. I'm sorry, Dan, but what are you trying to infer here? Do you assume that by being white, that by default you have some sort of advantage here? You know who else also does not have privilege in the Middle East? Black people, Desis, even other outsider Arabs from different countries like Egypt or Yemen. They can be treated various degrees of awful by other Arab or non-Arab Muslims. Racism is rife in the Muslim world. Please, Dan, please, for the love of God, whatever is out there, stop making it sound as if being white is something that would get you somewhere in the world. Plenty of other minorities in these countries are discriminated against. There's an entire community of Afro-Iraqis that are treated like shit. There's also African Palestinians, which are also treated like shit. I feel like I personally get irritated hearing this because I did marry outside of my race the first time and second time, and never did I think, because I am white, that I am in some way more deserving or privileged in my relationship. Being white and being American to a good family wouldn't matter to them at all. In the Islamic lens, are you practicing? Can you provide? These are the things that matter, not you being white. The right way to look at this, in my opinion, is that you're simply a person meeting another person, not through the lens of being brown, black, white, etc. Sure, we might have our preferences, but at the end of the day, what our preferences should translate into is finding someone who we are attracted to physically, emotionally, intellectually, etc.
And so I ended up coming back to Dubai for a bit, went back, did nikah, and moved her to Dubai. I got an additional place. I have 2 places here in Dubai Marina, and things have been great. We get along fantastically well. Our conflicts are very easy to manage, if any conflicts at all. It has been fantastic. And I truly and utterly believe it is because of that personality test, because I decided to go after a partner who I was psychologically aligned and compatible with first, and then I let love happen next. Because it is truly my belief that when alignment comes first, you cannot stop love from coming next. And so, mashallah, alhamdulillah, it has been a beautiful marriage ever since. And here is the thing. As an entrepreneur, and if you're an entrepreneur, you can relate to this, most business ideas come from experiencing a problem that does not have a very good solution. And then you create the solution, and that is your business. And so both my wife and I, because she waited until she was 32 to get married because she didn't want to settle. And I went through what I went through that I just explained to you. And we realized that the process for getting married as Muslims in the modern day is very difficult. There are not very good solutions. The marriage apps are not good. The matchmakers, please. Asking your family and friends, that's a toss-up. And so we decided, hey, why don't we create a business serving Muslims, a halal business, and help people find amazing partners and create amazing marriages. And so we got on GoDaddy.com, we searched for a domain, and we found traditionalwife.com, which was very expensive, but I made the investment. And we built the company, and it is a premium matchmaking service for successful Muslim men who are financially stable, who have good jobs, but they don't have the time to find a wife. And I can relate to that more than anybody. And so what we do is we sign on men as clients. We have sisters apply for free, and we have them take a personality test, the same personality I took with my wife. We use AI to match them so that we get it just right, and then we connect them. And our very first client, mashallah, we found him a wife within 3 weeks. She's from Morocco, he's from Singapore, and they're getting married next month. And we actually did a sit-down interview with him, a case study going over the entire process and how it went. It's actually on our website. You can check a link in the description if you would like to check that out. Or if you are a Muslim man looking for a wife, or if you're a sister looking to get married, I'll leave all that information in the description. But I want to leave you with this, because my intention is not to make this video an advertisement, but I wanted to share that. Here's the advice. If you are getting older and you are worried that you will not find your partner, you are worried that you will not find that person to complete your deen, because marriage is half of your deen, as we know, trust me, brother or sister, if you choose the wrong person, this could cost you decades, and then you get divorced, and then you have to start all over again. So if it takes you a little bit extra time, it is okay. It is worth it, because what you don't realize is by taking your time to find the right person, you are saving yourself decades of heartache and suffering. You can make almost any marriage work if you work at it, but why not find the marriage that doesn't take so much work? Because you are so aligned psychologically, you are so compatible that it just becomes easy. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.
Bragging again. He has 2 places in Dubai, guys. He's wonderful and successful. Now he's going to get into his little business venture he started, which is trying to get Muslims married. I agree with everything he said here, though. The apps are bad. They are filled with tons of non-practicing creeps. I'm just saying. There's really low, poor quality men on there. A good portion of them don't have papers. Trying to talk to the imam, that's a toss-up too. Forget that idea. I tried that myself and I never got anywhere. People that were recommended to me were absolutely terrible, terrible choices. He is right. There is a legitimate Muslim marriage crisis that has been going on for quite some time. Years, really. If you're a convert without Muslim family and support, your journey to getting married can be almost impossible. I know I went hard on him throughout this video with certain things he said because I genuinely do question if this is really as bad as he's saying it is or if he's exaggerating. But getting older in this religion and worrying about finding someone is a legitimate issue he's trying to tackle here. So let's take a look at what he has to offer. To be honest, I mean, I know I said it sounds nice and he sounds like he wants to solve an issue, but I am still highly skeptical because why? I've heard all of this before. This is the website he has. It looks like there's two of them, one for men and one for women to sign up. I'm not entirely sure why he did it that way. Maybe because his wife handles the sister side of things? Let's take a look at what the free account has to offer. Meet serious brothers who've invested $10K to find a wife. We match you based on your exact preferences and psychological compatibility, so you get the best start to a fulfilling marriage. Rest assured, men only see your profile once you approve the match. Enjoy no pressure Zoom meetings with your match, and if you both click, we'll exchange contact info. It's that simple. So there's a free version, and the first line already makes me skeptical. What does that mean, meet serious brothers who've invested $10K to find a wife? It sounds like there's not much to offer here. I mean, I can easily take a personality test myself and then ask my potential to take one. Also, Zoom meetings. I don't know about Zoom meetings, you guys. I feel like we've heard about this somewhere before. Let's take a look at the next tier, which is called the Pro account. One-time investment until we find the perfect husband. Enjoy all the benefits of the free account. Plus enjoy priority access to top-tier men. Find a husband up to 10 times faster. Drastically reduce the time it takes to start your new life. So, a one-time investment until the perfect husband is found. He doesn't elaborate. Like, am I understanding this right? The first tier says, meet brothers who've invested $10K to find a wife. Does this mean you have to give white Muslim guy $10K up front? Find a husband 10 times faster? Based on what? Where did that data come from? So I'm still not convinced to sign up for this. There's some red flags here. I mentioned earlier there's two websites. One is for women seeking men and the other is for men seeking women. When I clicked around on the second one, traditionalwife.com, I was reading the story of how this business started, which seemed to align with a lot of his story. Like many practicing Muslims, our founder spent over a year searching for a suitable wife. He already has a wife, but anyways, navigating apps, meeting families, and trying paid matchmakers. But time and time again, the experience fell short. He met sisters who weren't serious, wasted time and money on introductions that lacked compatibility, and found that most platforms focus more on surface-level preferences than long-term alignment. At the same time, the woman who would become his second wife remained unmarried into her 30s, not because she lacked options, but because she refused to settle. She wanted someone she could truly align with, and was willing to wait for the right match. When they finally connected, something different happened. This is the most painfully honest part about trying to find someone as a Muslim. His second wife looks very pretty from what I can tell, and she was in her early 30s and unmarried in the Middle East. Finding a person in general is not easy as a woman, and when you hit 30, that's when it really starts to get bad, guys. I will say, this might be one of Dan's best characteristics. The fact that he didn't view someone over 30 and unmarried as garbage. Conclusion. That was a wild ride, guys, and I'm so glad you decided to come along with me for it. There's a lot of lessons to be learned here. First of all, stay away from Islam. Do not convert. Second, finding a life partner shouldn't put you in debt or take you to a random hotel in Pakistan after 3 or 4 other women ghost you. The system of Islamic marriage is rife with issues, and Muslims are aware the system is broken and have failed to solve it because at the systemic level, Islam doesn't make marriage easy. And in order to change it at a systemic level, you have to change Islam. And that's not allowed. Life as a Muslim woman can be hell. You're traded like a piece of property for money. If you want to see more of my reactions to Muslims hunting for second wives and other drama of the Muslim world, support us on Patreon. Don't settle for being a second wife if you're a woman. You deserve to be someone's first and only love. Leave Islam behind. Life is better and more beautiful without it.